Send them over.
I will.
So we're going to take a minute to come over to this one. Welcome, 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 everyone. So ring that bell, call all of you here today. We're going to have a great, great session today. Let's ring that bell. Come on in. My lovely, lovely, lovely people. Woo-hoo! I'm loving you all. We haven't had a live. It's a new year. Come on in. Today we're going to have a great live. We're going to talk about some things that a lot of us don't know a lot about and see how we can transform our lives for 2022. Come on in, my lovely, beautiful people. Woo-hoo! Happy New Year. Come on in. Come on in. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So I'm Elemi from Yeyeo Botanica. I'm here today. We have a wonderful, beautiful guest for you today. Along with myself, I want to thank everyone who helped put today on. This is a fantastic talk. We're going to talk about past life regression. We're going to talk about past lives, how wonderful it is, how much information we can get. Remember, we're www.yeyeo for Yeyeo.com. And we are a spiritual and wellness supplier, which is why I do videos about all things spiritual. And so is regression, so is our past lives, so is investigating ourselves, meeting our guides, meeting ancestors, growing our spiritual gifts, getting that spiritual power, right? So welcome. Ah, yes, finally catching a live. We're going to have lots of lives. Isn't that a pun on words? Past lives, we're going to have lots of lives. I love that. Linden, New Jersey. All right. Everyone's coming in. I love it, love it, love it. We're going to give a minute for the people who we had another page and we kind of got ourselves a little twisted around. So we're here, Arizona, Vancouver, Chicago, Miami, Trenton, New Jersey, Bridgeport, Connecticut, Melbourne, Canada. We got some Canada people in the house. Florida, Philly, Brooklyn, Jamaica, Georgia. I'm getting heated up today. So good to see all of you. Oh my God, let's do like a clap. All of you guys, applaud yourself. We're here, 2022. Let's applaud ourselves. Oh my gosh, some of us have lost loved ones, friends. Some of us had COVID last year. We're still here. Let's applaud ourselves. Applaud ourselves that we're still here. You know, this is fantastic. A new year. God bless all of you. All right. So let's get started in talking a little bit about past lives. So I want to share a little bit with you first about when I thought about past lives and when I decided that I wanted to become certified with past lives. Can everyone hear me really well? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me really well. Yes, okay, very well. So I have a goddaughter who she would always call me up and tell me about all these different dreams of past lives that she would have. And I thought to myself, this is just really, really interesting, um, really, really interesting concept. And I remember when I discovered something about myself that was definitely from a past life. And I realized that so many things about ourselves that we're attracted to um, are already coded within us, right? From a past life. So many things are coded, and we don't even realize it. Oh, I've always been this way. I've always liked this thing. I've always been attracted to this or that. And some of it are spiritual gifts that we come to life with. Some are things that are coded within us, but 90%, I believe, of who we are in this life outside of what we get from our ancestry is definitely coded through past existences. And so if we understand this concept of energy, and it says that energy is neither created nor destroyed. What's this over my shoulder? We want to move that. I'm like, what's that? So energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just transforms itself, right? So when someone passes on, energy ejects itself out of this physical body, and then it goes into the astros. And if the person is going to reincarnate, then it takes another form, right? And so many traditions in Africa believe that children reincarnate into various elders. When various elders pass away, that a child is born as a form of almost like that elder reincarnating. And so I wanted to kind of tie together this concept of past lives with spirituality, because this concept of past life regression or past life work has really become very, very popular over the last 50 years. And the gentleman who I became certified with, who is Dr. Brian Weiss, who is an icon in this field and really kind of brought past life regression to the forefront. He has regressed presidents. He's been on Oprah. You can find him on YouTube, all different places. Wonderful, wonderful man. He is a psychotherapist, and he is the one who really kind of discovered regression and kind of brought it out. And so it's really thought of as a psychological therapy, but the way that I use regression is really a way to expand people's spirituality and to really help them, to help people to develop themselves spiritually and to unlock a lot of their spiritual gifts and spirituality, whether it be to heal and or to magnify. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about regression and past life work and how it shows up in our life, in our present life, and then kind of have a little discussion, bring in someone who has regressed and seen some things and gotten some information. And so you can hear from someone who has gone through this experience, and maybe some of you who also have gone through some regression, maybe to hear from you so that you can share with others who are on today. So, what is regression, right? Well, first I want to say what are past lives, right? So when we think about past lives, if you believe that there has been a that people have past lives, right? Then automatically you believe in reincarnation. Automatically. So someone can't say that they don't believe in reincarnation, but they believe in past lives, because they're pretty much the same thing. That's one. And two, this idea of past lives or going into past lives is accessing past memories, right? Because again, if we start with this concept that energy, we are energy in a physical body, then energy stores memories, right? And so, this idea of going back into time or back into these memories from a previous time is really what this kind of modality accesses. And so we're going to talk a little bit now about how do we access that information. And some of you have already accessed this information and didn't even realize it. And just in our chat today, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I've actually done that. Or I actually saw things from my previous life and was even unaware of it. Let me just put my glasses on for a second and see what that says. Run away. Okay. So when people meditate, that's one way to access previous stored information. When you dream, that is a way to access previous information, right? So there are times where you dream and you see yourself experiencing something, right? It could be that you had clothes on from another time, or being in another place, or looking a different way, and you know, okay, wait a minute, I think that was me. I mean, it sure felt like me. Oftentimes it was you. Right? You may have been a different gender or a different ethnicity, or just living in a different place. Oftentimes that is stored information that you have actually, it's called breaking the veil between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And that's really the way that people access that stored information, whether it be in the dream state, because the dream state is in the subconscious mind, right? Through very deep meditation, through some forms of hypnosis or a combination thereof, or what I personally have experienced, and I just couldn't believe it. So, those of you who have seen The Matrix and are into the whole Matrix thing like I am, I swear to you, I feel like past lives are like a glitch in the Matrix, right? Or that deja vu where people go, oh my gosh, I really feel like I've been here before. I've seen this before. Sometimes I believe that some of that. You love the plants. I know, I love the plants too. People are always coming in the store going, oh, the plants. So this idea, almost like this glitch in the matrix, or this glitch in this information that's already coded, it's like a peek. It's just like this peek into this previous coded information. So there are many ways to be able to access this kind of information. Sometimes I've heard people who have done different kinds of plant medicine have said also that they have accessed information that have given them insight into other dimensions either of themselves or other dimensions just of time and space that they have never seen before. And so, just as a sidebar, that we're talking about past lives today, but there's present life, kind of looking into other dimensions, and there's also future life. But for today, we're focused on past, right? So, regression, which is also known as regression therapy, from a psychological perspective, but we're mostly focused on the spiritual aspects of it today, is really a tool that is used for many, many different purposes, right? And one of the purposes that I personally think that it's wonderful, I mean, I've got a long list of reasons why I think it's wonderful, but some of the reasons why I think that regression therapy is just so wonderful is one, it heals trauma. It answers questions. It answers those deep rooted questions that you've never been able to answer. And you're like, I want to know why this is like this. And I'm going to get a little bit after I kind of give some of the benefits or some of the things that regression touches on. I'm going to give some of the in things that it unlocks. So heals trauma, answers questions. It unlocks gifts that you are born with, gifts that you already have, some of which you know, some of which you do not know, right? It reveals information. It neutralizes negative energy, right? So if there's some negative things that are going on for the individual, it can neutralize that, or it can encapsulate that because now the person is in the discovery of what that is. It can bring forth coded information that is kind of coded in your psyche, or it could be family information, it could be family trauma, it could be generational information that it will bring forward, so that sometimes it will answer questions about family. Sometimes people say, you know, always this is always showing up in my family all the time, all the time, all the time. Oftentimes this kind of exercise can answer those questions and can heal some of that trauma, right? It can bring forth talents. There are people who discover they have all these different talents as a result of going through some kind of regression exercise or this discovery, whether it be through dream work or through some kind of meditative exercise to bring forth this discovery. It could be unlocking information about different phobias. Sometimes people have different phobias. They've never understood why they have a phobia. So I'm going to give you a few examples about that. So I have someone who they never knew they could sew. And one day I gave them something. I said, go home and see if you can sew this. And now they're like a master seamstress. That was a past life thing that got unlocked, right? It could be that a person picks up a musical instrument and automatically just starts playing it. And everyone's like, well, when did you really learn how to do that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I just didn't really know that I knew that, right? Sometimes it's in your spirituality. You didn't know that you could do certain things spiritually. And all of a sudden you started messing around with something and it's like, boom, this thing just kind of opened up, right? It was already coded in your past, and in this present life, you just kind of unlocked it and boom, all of that came forward, right? Could be healing, could be writing, could be all these different things. Absolutely. So I call it your spiritual DNA, right? It's already there from your past, because when we're born, all this information gets pulled forward. Yes, there are people who can have some trauma in their birth. They can have issues within their lineage that can stunt some of those gifts. But at the end of the day, you're already walking with all of this ashe. Hello, you're walking with all of this ashe. This is about learning how to expand it and to bring it out. So I want to talk a little bit about what is regression like? Because a lot of times people hear about these things and they're like, oh, this seems so strange. And maybe it's a little scary. Or why do I want to go back into the past? I don't want to go back into the past. Well, when everyone started talking about their twin flame or their soulmate, well, what's a soulmate? A soulmate is someone that you supposedly met in a previous lifetime and you met them again in this life, right? So you're already still tapping back into a previous lifetime. Hello. So if any of you have the opportunity to be able to do regression, whether it be with myself or with someone else, it can be very, very beneficial. So I want to share with you some misconceptions about past life regression. A lot of times people think that you're going to go through a regression one time and it's like a whole movie. I'm going to see my whole life in one movie. That's not realistic, and that's not how the subconscious works, right? I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to read some of your comments before I get into what to expect in a regression. These are going away very quickly today. Let me see. About dreaming of people you've never met. Absolutely. Some of those are your spirit guides. Some may be ancestors. That went by very quickly. It is a process, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that. It's like a trailer to a movie. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it's like before I answer a few of these questions. So when a person goes through a regression, they can go through various lifetimes. So they can see in one session, maybe it's one lifetime, depending on what their session is like. Their session could be where they get coached into different lifetimes. If it's just kind of like a dunking in the water, so to speak, it could be that you see things like flashcards, as someone mentioned before, where you see a picture and you see yourself in various forms, and then it kind of goes away. Or you see a quick little story and then it goes away. And so, depending on the technique of the regression, it could be a regression that takes you into the womb state, or it takes you into a child state where you're a child, then you go through being in the womb, or it takes you into the state of, some people call it the death ceremony, where you see yourself dying. And so for some people who have a lot of um, apprehension about death or have a lot of fear around that conversation, it definitely can heal that, but also give people a whole different perspective on the transitional state of the physical body. Okay, so I give you an example. Uh, One of the times when I regressed, which is one of the reasons why I was like, oh, this is so interesting. I need to do this again. Um, when I went through a regression, I saw, I was always told, oh, you need to research this particular group of people in Africa. You need to research them, research them, research them. Sounds scary. And so when I went through a regression, I saw myself as one of those people from that group, right? So it answered the question of a part of my lineage, a part of the imprint of who I am today. And so that's one of the things that it can do for you. It can kind of connect some of those dots, especially if you're a person, if you have or have not done your DNA, it can also answer some of those questions because you can see yourself from the past. Another example of what it can also answer outside of what I mentioned earlier about answering questions about why am I this way, or why do I think this way, or what are some of my gifts, and so on and so forth, is if you are a person that, let's say, you have always been very maybe very nonchalant about something all the time, and people are like, don't you take anything seriously, what's going on, what's going on, right? You may find your if you go through a regression, you may see yourself going through an experience where maybe you lost something or you lost someone, right? And that may have impacted you very strongly in a previous lifetime, and you just kept carrying that forward. Here's a wonderful story before we get to the questions and your comments as well. I have a person was not good at speaking up for themselves. I could be a public speaker. Absolutely. This person was not good for of speaking up for themselves. They were very muted all the time. Even in bad situations, they were very muted all the time, all the time, all the time. And it was discovered that in a previous lifetime, the person had a lover that muted them. And that was not healed before they came to this life. And that had to get cured in this life. But the point is, that's how they discovered that no matter how much therapy, conversation, coaching, whatever, it would just not help them to be able to start speaking their truth. And once that problem was healed and discovered, it went away. So there are many different, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. You know, I knew a lady who she had 11 children, right? And in a previous lifetime, her children were taken from her. And so in this life, she's all in, right? So there are many discoveries that you can make about yourself that can be very empowering, very freeing, and very liberating. They will reveal who they are over time. Okay, so one of the questions that came up is deja vu related to past lives? I personally think that they are. As I mentioned earlier, I believe that deja vu is almost like a glitch in the matrix, right? Where you see yourself and something happens and you go, wait a second, this sure looks familiar. Was I here before? Did this happen before? I feel like it's almost like this code that there's like a little glitch, like a little peekaboo, and you see this experience or you have this experience, and it kind of brings you to the forefront. So I'm going to answer two more questions, and then we're going to have someone who talks about their experience and what has past life done for them. How do you know dreams or feelings are from a past life? Well, I'm not sure about feelings, but I definitely know that dreams, you can have a dream where you are the actor. You are the person in the dream. And you are the animator. You feel everything, you know everything, and you look at yourself, and deep in the back of your mind you go, wait a minute. You look at yourself and you know this color may not be your color, this gender may not be your gender. So the place where you are, you're like, wow, this is so interesting. Usually in my experience with people, when they're dreaming of a past life, they know that it's a past life. I'm not really sure. I can't say that it's like something in particular, like someone says it's a past life. In my experience, when I've had past life dreams, I knew it was a past life dream because it answered something very directly about myself. When I go, wow, I knew that's why I always liked that thing. And other people who have told me about past life dreams, they have also said they were clear that it was a past life dream. So I have a feeling that you may have either had it already or when you have it, you're going to be really clear that that's what it is. Yes, as this person says, you just know. Okay. And the other one, do we make up karma from past life? Do we make up karma from past lives? Can you help me with that one? What are they getting at with that question?
Can you make it up in this life? Yeah.
Ah, got you. So I believe so. I believe that that there may have been so there's family karma, there's individual karma that can travel with people into this life, and I totally believe that those are things that can be cured as long as you are in the awareness that there's something that feels like it's off or it's wrong. I mean, it could be family history, or family members may have done things, and oh, they may not have been the best people when they were alive or coming up, and you feel that some of that karmic baggage is with you. Definitely, I believe that that can be cured. So we're going to be bringing our guest up to come and talk a little bit about her experience. And this is Erica. This is my goddaughter. She is a priest of Shango.
Hi, everyone.
We want to welcome her. And she has gone through regression.
Yes.
And what was one of the things, why did you first want to go through regression?
Well, I wanted to go through regression because doing some research, I heard that it's really good. Well, I had a therapist and she told me that hypnosis, and that's a good form of therapy to try to, fix some things that you want to fix, some trauma, some things that you want to heal. And when I was when I was researching that, I found past life regression. Just so happens that was kind of lining up around the time where I met you, and I was, about to make Ocha, and you were also preparing to become certified in it. So when you put out the call, I was like, I really want to try this because, my therapist years ago told me that it could be a really a healing experience for people.
So did you go in with any particular, what'd you say, preconceptions that kind of got, or misconceptions that got changed or amplified?
Well, I would say for one, um, I think I went in thinking, oh, I'm gonna see myself like in a past life in Africa or as some like Native American warrior. But like, the first life I regressed when we did the regression, it was a young French girl, like from the Victorian age. So that was like, I don't want to say it wasn't off putting, but I didn't expect that, and it was just very interesting to see how certain themes from what I saw in the regression with her went along with the other life I had, just like certain things. And so I look at it like that was like a theme that I've been trying to heal in several past lives, and it's something that was very, very specific to me. So I think that the healing for me came through the questions that were answered in the themes, and the patterns that happened in this with this little girl. And then the other lady was like near her 40s. So, they didn't come from the same background. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it was just very polarizing to see like what they went through in their lives and how that's translating to my life today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was one particular sitting, but if you had maybe had, let's say, 4 or 5 sittings, that you would actually have seen even more.
Yeah, right.
One of the things also about regression is you can go back to a particular time. So let's say she wanted to go back to that time of the little girl. You can, oh, I discovered I was a little girl this way, this way, this way. You can actually regress back to that time to go back to that timeline, which is something very fascinating with regression, to kind of get more of the story or get a bigger insight to the picture. Is there anything else that you would love to share about regression, just in your experience with it?
Well, it was just again, like, just I want to share with people that, if this is something that you've been thinking about doing, researching, that, try to find, or do a little bit more research, but really try to go down that path, find somebody to do it, because the healing from the questions that are answered, and just the way things start to make sense in your life. And then, like, days after, I was still seeing, like, oh, that's what that's from, or oh, that, and it's still building. I'm still getting signs, and I think we did that 2 3 months ago.
Mhm.
So, and I do want to regress to get a little bit deeper with some of the answers, but I just think it was a wonderful experience, and the healing was just that was the best thing for me. The healing through the questions that were answered.
So, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask Erica before before we close? You're looking at your little cheat sheet to see if there's anything that maybe they'd want to know. So, someone, Elijah says, interesting. Oh, you have a few questions over here. Thank you. So, no one has any questions. Where did she go for the reading?
For the well, I regressed with my Ia, and so we had it was a small group, and it was a very
Question
quiet,
went by very
nice.
quickly. Go ahead.
Oh, it
Go
was a
ahead.
very nice small space, very peaceful, very serene. So that's where we did our regression.
Um, can you, these questions, some of them are going by very quickly. It's hard to kind of catch some of them.
Could you feel, smell? Um,
Oh, that's a good, very
yeah,
good question.
I could feel. Yes, I actually could feel, like, feel as in touch. Yeah, but like the feelings that I got, like the emotional from one of the other lives I had, like this particular woman had a really strong connection to her parents and to her family. And so when something happened in her life, it automatically, like, I don't want to say tugged on my heartstrings, but I knew that particular thing was instantly connected to this life, and things that I'm going through. But yeah, I could feel emotionally, and I could feel physically.
So I see one question that someone asked, which um, is there anything that you regretted about it?
No, not one bit.
Okay. Then someone, it was going by pretty quickly. Someone asked about race and gender. Absolutely, that's a part of the discovery. Remember, we are energy transforming ourselves, and that's a part of the journey of being here, right? So we're transforming ourselves. So we could have lived, you can see yourself living in another country. You could live in South America, you could live in Europe, you could have been white, black, green, Asian, whatever. You can see yourself being all these different things.
I have something too. So I don't know if this is too
They were
over, but
asking about Orisha experience. Go
okay.
ahead.
Well, so in one of the lives, I met who I met a spirit guide for this life. So it was very interesting how that world collide. And in the regression, I instantly knew that this woman was a spirit guide in this life to me. So I don't know how she, again, that's something that I would regress back to this particular life, but that was a very interesting connection too, that I met my past life met a spirit guide for this life. So
That part, someone asked that question. They said, can you meet a spirit guide? Absolutely. That you can have guides that travel in different incarnations with you. You can have guides that travel throughout your family lineage, and they show up in different generations of your family as well. Absolutely. These are some of the wonderful experiences that you can have. Now, I want to be clear. Can you see things in past lives that you're not happy with? Absolutely. But that's a part of the healing, right? Someone can see their death experience and go, "Oh my God, that was so horrible." But that's a part of the healing of trauma of this life. It's a part of answering some of the questions that you may be having in this life. It may be answering fear that a person's having in this life. And so life is filled with the good and the bad. At the end of the day, it's about empowering yourself and getting tools to heal whatever's broken, right? Um, I didn't catch that one. Okay, do you need someone to regress you or can you do it alone? So on YouTube, there's lots of hypnosis recorded that people can do on their own. I would just say to you, and I say to anyone, when you're doing these, you need to try not to fall asleep. For people who are going through, because trust me, I've tried it and I've fallen asleep. This is why I can say this. So one of the things that I learned in the certification is if you fall asleep, it's not the end of the world. But if you're going to do it repetitively, you don't want to fall asleep repetitively. One or two times is no big deal. Repetitively, it can become an issue. So, but yes, you can definitely do it on your own. Is it going to be as impactful? No, it's not. And so you did it by yourself and
Hmm.
you did it with me. So
Yeah.
maybe a question also for them in terms of regressing yourself through some kind by yourself.
Reading through books, meet spirit guides, and it was like surface. I just skimmed the surface with it, like the guided meditation I did to meet a spirit guide. At the spirit guide that I saw in this meditation, that I couldn't quite place like who she was, or even if I was really seeing, my spirit guide. When I regressed, I was clear that that was my spirit guide. That's who that woman was. It's yeah.
You so which one do you think is more impactful?
Um, I think, well, of course, it's more impactful to do the regression, with a trained person, because I don't think that if you're doing it by yourself, especially kind of silent, or you're trying to do it in your head, I think that you're kind of getting lost into like questions to ask yourself, so you can't really focus, rather than somebody, kind of dictating it and facilitating it for you.
So people keep asking, can I recommend someone? Yeah, me. I do regressions, but I'm thinking about doing online regressions where people would have to wear headphones, where you can really, really hear and be present to the experience versus not being in person. Being in person is so impactful. And this year we're going to be doing a huge group regression, and that's going to be just, and you all will hear about that.
Well, not only that, I think the facilitator too, somebody who's trained knows the questions to ask. They've been doing it, they have a little bit more practice. They can see how you're reacting. So,
Mhm,
it's more of a controlled
mhm,
environment. So I
mhm.
think that's optimal experience than, me just like in my bathroom with the water running. It's, you could kind of, and then somebody's able to bring it, bring you there, bring you out of it, and then kind of explain to you, if you have questions, or things aren't quite connecting, to kind of explain to you, how things could possibly connect to your life and your past lives.
Okay. So someone asked a question, is seeing past deaths a warning sign for this life? I'm not sure if you mean in the regression or just like you saw a flash. Um,
I think they're saying it's seen, like if you're seeing your past life, or seeing the way you died in your past lives, does it does it, I think they're saying, is it a recurring theme, or is it kind of like a warning for how you may die in this life?
Not
I
necessarily.
think that's,
No.
yeah.
Because in in a very in a very controlled environment, that is a part of a certain type of regression to take the person through the veil of dying in one lifetime to get into the other lifetime. So that is a part of a particular technique. So it depends on whether or not people are comfortable with that. And if they're not, that's maybe something that I would actually keep in mind for just as a question mark for myself for certain people to ask based on their own trauma.
But the death, one of the deaths that I had, was very indicative to a problem I have in this life. So that was also interesting, because it's not a phobia I have, but it's some like newfound issue that I have. So one of my past life deaths, it I was like, oh, Eureka, that's what that is. That's why that's that way. So that's, I don't know if that quite answers the questions, but it wasn't a warning sign for me for this life, but it was like, okay, maybe that's why this particular thing was a tender subject for me.
And that goes back to healing trauma, right? And empowerment, and bringing forth this discovery and breaking some codes that we're carrying that are no longer needed for us. Tell us the details. How do you deal with you being a bad person in a past life? If you discover that you were a bad person in a past life, which many times people do discover that they may have done things that were not good in a past life, this goes back to the question that was asked earlier about healing past trauma, healing karma. Um, well, it can answer the questions about maybe some of the things that you may be doing in this life and how to reprogram that, right? A lot of these things you can change. Saying, oh, I've just always been that way. Well, there are a lot of things that today people can change, right? They can change the way they look, and we can change the way we think, and we can change a lot of things. Even the way that we were brought up in terms of the way that we think, that just takes personal work, right? Being conscious and being present, being conscious and being present. And unfortunately, no one can do it for us. But coming into that knowing is so empowering. And so that's really what this is about. Can you experience with regression if not in person?
If not in like a dream, if you aren't hypnotized, can you?
Yeah, you can definitely get it in the dream state. And so here's our last question before we close out. If you had a talent in a past life, should you pursue it now in this life? I think that's a personal choice, but I would say that if you were talented with something in particular in a past life, you definitely have a stronger propensity or a stronger gift with it in this life. And if it's something you're interested in, go forth. Go forth, be successful, right? It says, I was in a war and got killed in the past life. Well, I would say definitely try to avoid conflict in this life.
He said we should give details. I saw that detail.
So thank you all for participating. I hope that just this conversation today has opened you up to this concept of recognizing that you come into this life with so many gifts, baggage, spirit guides, ancestors. You come with all of this wonderful information that is stored all back here. And so if you're able to bring this information forward, not only to help yourself, help your children, help your loved ones, help your families, this will just continue to empower you. This idea of spirit being energy, being this intangible thing. Well, we are spirit, right? And so when we go into these kinds of dream states, meditative states, regressive states, this is an opportunity to actually connect with our guides, connect with them almost in a way that seems like we're actually seeing them. And it is such a, I don't even know, a magical experience. Not something to be abused, not something to take lightly, but definitely such a gift to yourself if you have the opportunity to experience it. And I hope that today, me sharing this with you, definitely we kind of took it a little bit to the side today. We're not talking about candles and all the typical botanica stuff, but still very much about spirit, about healing, about growth, about empowerment. Everybody who knows me knows I'm all about the power, all about empowerment. Who you going to empower? You. This is 2022 and it's all about you. We're going to put that tagline for this year. It's 2022 and it's all about you. Let's say it again. It's 2022 and it's all about you. So, my loves, see you next time. Ashe, ashe, ashe. All right.
Thank you. Thank everybody.
All right. We're going to shake that bell one more time. See you next time. I say,